Hey, True, I found your channel a month before the 2020 election. And man, that was a crazy time. I won't get into politics here, but your stories were a much needed escape from the madness of that year. I can't remember the first one I listened to, but I know where they all led: misery, heartbreak, and lessons learned the hard way. It's crazy how many men have stories like these, yet sympathy is often reserved only for the women who go through similar experiences. I learned firsthand how little value is placed on men's emotions. The stories you cover don't just devastate men emotionally, they often destroy them financially too. Luckily, my own experience with a cheating ex happened in my late teens and early 20s, long before I became the person I am today. I'm 38 now, married to a Jamaican woman for 11 years, together for 14. We have one kid, a 10-year-old, and are doing quite well. But before I dive more into that, let me give you some background so you understand where my early simping behavior came from. I grew up on the east side of Detroit with a single mom who, to this day, has a knack for choosing the wrong men. When I was 16, she practically abandoned me in a house with no electricity so she could run off with the father of her third, and later, fifth, child. This was the same guy who had left her alone in the hospital when my youngest sister was born. It was 2003 when this scumbag walked back into our lives, flashing money and talking big about his house in the suburbs. At the time, our electricity had been shut off for the second summer in a row. My mom had lost her job as a custodian the year before and had been struggling to find work. Growing up, I watched her make one bad decision after another, each one dragging us deeper into hardship. By 2003, I'd had enough. I couldn't stand watching that loser manipulate his way back into our lives. After a few weeks of cozying up to my mom, she finally told me we were moving in with him. I refused. I told her only a fool lets someone lie to them twice. She didn't listen. She packed up my 3 younger siblings and left me behind. I was devastated. My self-esteem was already low from years of her poor choices, bullying at school, and just feeling like I had no control over my own life. This was the moment I truly became a passenger in my own story. Looking back, I think this was the first stage of what I now recognize as depression. To make things worse, my father had stayed with us the previous year, but was kicked out after my mom caught him using crack in the basement. That summer, with the electricity off, I didn't notice him mumbling to himself as he walked around the house in the dark, gathering his belongings. I stayed quiet, unsure of what to say, worried about where he would go. Little did I know, he had taken some of my most cherished possessions with him. I only found out days later when I tried to pack my games for a sleepover at my friend's house. My GameCube? Gone. Super Smash Brothers. My only game? Gone. Everything. True, I wouldn't wish that kind of betrayal on my worst enemy. Video games were my only escape from the gang violence, drugs, and chaos that surrounded me daily. I had been the one who convinced my mom to let my dad stay, thinking it would be a chance for him to reconnect with me and my sister after spending most of our childhood strung out or in prison. I wanted a relationship with him so badly, and he repaid me by stealing from me. I sat alone in that house for 3 weeks before my friends discovered my situation and told their parents. They packed my things and took me in. While I was grateful, it didn't do much to restore my sense of self-worth. 6 months later, I hit rock bottom. One morning, while my friends were at school, I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. But in the midst of that pain, something inside me clicked. I had an epiphany. I couldn't keep living like this, waiting for my mom to change, for my dad to be a father. I had to take care of myself. From that day on, I held fast to one truth. No one will ever take care of you better than you can. And that brings me to Rosie, the Puerto Rican Italian ex-girlfriend who took me for a ride from late 2006 to late 2007. Fall 2006. I was 19 and had just graduated high school after a long and difficult road. I had ignored all the girls who claimed to like me during my senior year. I had dropped out for a year and a half and had to focus on catching up. During that time, I worked part-time at McDonald's. Plenty of girls my age worked there, some of them stunning, but most of them wouldn't give me the time of day because I couldn't drive yet. My only mode of transportation was an hour-long bike ride through rain, sleet, and snow. I had no choice. My mom and her boyfriend charged me almost my entire paycheck for rides, only to pick me up whenever they felt like it. True. You won't believe this, but one day I sat in the McDonald's lobby for 8 hours waiting for my mom to pick me up. When I first called her, she said she was on her way, but after that, she stopped answering the phone. When she finally arrived, she didn't say a word. I just got in the van and went home. The very next day, I walked to Walmart and bought a mountain bike. That bike became more reliable than my own family. Around that time, I had just ended a brief 2-month relationship with a truly unhinged woman, a short but wild story for another day. I was just doing my thing at Mickey D's when I noticed a girl at the front counter getting harassed by a rude customer. I hate seeing people being bullied, so I stepped in to help her out. The situation escalated fast. The guy threw his food at us as we told him to leave. After he stormed off, I turned to the girl. I had never spoken to her before. "You all right?" I asked. She nodded, smiling shyly. "What's your name?" Rosie. She was 19, about 5'6", slim, as far as I could tell from the uniform. Her face was about a 7, big eyes, a button nose, and medium lips. I assumed she was white, just slightly tan. I introduced myself and told her if she ever needed help to ask. Then I went back to work. That little moment must have left an impression on her because she started asking everyone at work about me. It got so bad that coworkers started telling me, "Rosie likes you." I didn't buy it. It felt too much like high school drama. But then, one day she handed me an empty fry carton with a message in glittery ink, saying how sweet she thought I was. She even kissed it with sparkling lip gloss. I thought it was cute, so I told her I liked it. She asked if we could hang out sometime. "Sure," I said, "but I only have a bike." She didn't care. She had a car. And that's how it started. By late September, Rosie and I had been together for a few weeks. Like most new couples, we were spending a lot of time together. One afternoon, she suggested we hang out at Fairlane Mall near Detroit. I was all in. I had never been there before. We arrived, arms wrapped around each other, enjoying the energy of the place. But as we walked in, a guy near the entrance locked eyes with Rosie, his expression shifting into shock. He pointed at her, shaking his head with what looked like disappointment. Confused, I glanced at Rosie. "What was that about?" I asked as we moved past him. She waved it off quickly. "Oh, nothing. I come here often." He probably recognized me. Something about her response didn't sit right, but I let it go. We enjoyed the rest of our mall trip, and later that evening, we went back to her dad's house. The atmosphere shifted immediately. Her dad barely looked at me, giving me the cold shoulder. I didn't want to overthink it, but being a black guy dating his daughter, I started wondering if race played a part in it. "Does your dad have a problem with black people?" I finally asked. She shook her head. "No, it's not that. He just thinks I have terrible taste in men." I laughed it off, not pressing the issue. I never bothered to ask about her past relationships or if she had a reputation. I was just caught up in the excitement of being with her. But that moment at the mall, the way her dad acted, it was the first whisper of warning I ignored. By late October, Rosie's dad started warming up to me. He was a towering 6'6" Lithuanian Vietnam vet with a loud, commanding voice, but beneath that rough exterior, he was a caring family man. Rosie had only been living with him for about 5 months. Compared to my own upbringing, his household seemed like something straight out of Full House, a stable, loving family dynamic that I admired. Then came the news that shook everything up. Rosie's mother had just passed away from cancer. She was emotionally wrecked, and her three older sisters, all in their 30s, swooped in to handle the arrangements. They pressured her into breaking up with me. When she called, her voice was heavy with guilt. My sisters say I'm in no place to have a boyfriend right now. They think I need to focus on why I'm living with my dad in the first place. I was heartbroken, but didn't fight it. Something in me sensed there was more going on than just her family's concern. A week passed without contact. Then, curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to talk to her dad. What he revealed should have made me run for the hills, but instead, it only pulled me in deeper. Rosie's dad didn't hold back. She's a compulsive liar, maybe even a sociopath. The car she drives, I gave it to her, and I make her log the mileage because she lies about where she goes. She didn't come live with me because she wanted stability. She came because she was running wild in the streets while her mom was too sick to stop her. I stared at him, speechless. She's addicted to sex, he continued, his voice pained. I caught her sneaking men into my house on my security cameras. You're sitting on the same couch she's been with multiple guys on. I had to tell her about the cameras just to make it stop. My stomach turned. Any rational person would have walked away then and there, but not me. Instead of seeing the flashing red lights, I saw Rosie as a victim. I convinced myself that bad men had taken advantage of her, that she needed someone who truly cared about her. My judgment was clouded by the way she made me feel, by the passionate intensity of our time together. And just like that, when she called me crying a few days later, saying she needed to be with me, I ran right back to her. A few days later, I was at work when I saw Rosie pull into the parking lot with one of our coworkers, Eric. They sat in the lobby, chatting like they had known each other forever. Something about the way they laughed together made my gut tighten. I walked over, trying to play it cool. What's going on? Eric looked up at me, wide-eyed. I think it's time for me to go. He grabbed his things and practically ran out the door. I turned to Rosie. What was that about? She hesitated. I didn't know you were working today. I had taken an extra shift for cash, so I wasn't on the schedule. She looked nervous, but quickly covered it up with a shrug. We just hung out for a bit. It's nothing. I nodded, forcing a smile. But inside, my brain replayed the guy at the mall, the way he pointed at her in shock. I started wondering, was I that guy's replacement? And was Eric mine? I let it slide, but I knew in my gut something wasn't right. A week before Thanksgiving, my ex from before Rosie called me out of nowhere, hitting me with a classic pregnancy scare. We had only been together for about a month, and I knew she was trying to stir up drama. She had always been spiteful, and seeing me with someone as attractive as Rosie must have eaten her alive. I told Rosie about it, thinking honesty was the best policy. It backfired spectacularly. Her face dropped. Her whole demeanor shifted. So what? She's calling you just to mess with us? I nodded. Yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. Rosie didn't buy it. She attempted to break up with me, and I, like a fool, begged her to stay. That moment, I now realize, was when she saw the weakness in me. She saw that I was willing to do anything to keep her, and that's when the real disrespect began. By Christmas, things had started to deteriorate. She was becoming distant, moody, but also more controlling. We had plans for New Year's Eve with some friends, and we thought it would be cute to wear matching outfits in traditional Chinese garb. The ladies at the party thought it was adorable, but the guys, not so much. They pulled me aside and, in typical dude fashion, asked the golden question, "So have you hit it yet?" I smirked but refused to answer. If only they knew the real situation. Rosie was insatiable. She wanted it all the time, back to back, and she had a wild side that would make most men blush. One of the guys handed me a beer, wishing me well in the new year. I took a sip. Big mistake. Rosie saw me drinking and lost it. "You're drinking! You aren't the guy I know!" she screamed before storming out. Everyone at the party stared at me, stunned. After a few awkward seconds, I went outside after her. She was pacing back and forth, her breathing heavy. When I tried to calm her down, she whispered, "I have something to tell you when we get home." That drive back was one of the longest of my life. When we finally got inside, she turned to me, her eyes filled with guilt. "Do you remember that time you saw me with Eric?" she asked. I felt my stomach drop. "Yeah, what about it?" She swallowed hard before admitting, "I slept with him that day, but it didn't mean anything." My heart pounded. I stared at her, waiting for anger to rise, but it didn't. Instead, I felt numb, and like the fool I was, I forgave her. After New Year's, things with Rosie took a turn for the worse. The trust was gone, but my attachment to her was stronger than my self-respect. I should have left then and there, but something inside me kept making excuses for her. I kept thinking, maybe she really regrets it. Maybe she just needs help. I was fooling myself. By Valentine's Day, Rosie was acting different, more distant, more irritable, yet at the same time more clingy. She had been blowing hot and cold for weeks, and I thought a nice Valentine's Day might reset things. I planned a romantic night, dinner at a nice Italian restaurant, and a custom-made gift basket with all her favorite treats. For a while, the night seemed perfect. She was smiling, laughing, and acting like the girl I first fell for. But on the drive home, the energy shifted. She went silent, her fingers fidgeting in her lap. I tried making conversation, but she gave short, uninterested responses. Something was on her mind. Right when we got to her place, she turned to me, her expression heavy with guilt. "I have something to tell you." I braced myself. "What is it?" She hesitated, staring at her hands. Then, with a deep breath, she confessed, "I cheated on you again." My stomach dropped. "What?" "With 2 guys," she blurted out, her voice barely above a whisper. "At the same time. I met them on MySpace." I went numb. My mind couldn't even process what she had just said. 2 guys? At the same time? My vision blurred as images I didn't want filled my head. The anger came slow, creeping up like a rising tide, but it was drowned out by something worse. Pure devastation. "Please don't leave me," she sobbed, grabbing my hands. "I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I have a problem. I need help. I need you." I should have walked away right then, but I didn't. Instead, I let her sob story sink in. She told me she was adopted by her aunt and uncle after being born in prison because her mother was a drug addict. She told me she never knew her real father and that the man I thought was her dad was actually her uncle through marriage. She painted a picture of a broken girl who had been tossed around, never truly loved, and struggling to find stability. And I fell for it. I told myself that I couldn't abandon her, that maybe I could help her get better. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was just too afraid to let go. By March, Rosie decided she wanted to try modeling. Even though she was short and a little too busty for the industry, she knew how to turn heads. I supported her, thinking it might be a good creative outlet for her. She found a photographer willing to do a free photo shoot for her, a male photographer. We arrived at the studio and Rosie told me she needed privacy so she could focus on her poses. She assured me she would only wear the outfits we had agreed upon. I wanted to trust her, so I let her be. 2 hours later, she emerged from the studio glowing with excitement, and nothing seemed off. For the next 2 weeks, she kept talking about how great the shoot was and how she couldn't wait to get the edited photos back. When she finally got them, she sat next to me, eager to show them off. At first, they were normal, classy, well-lit shots of her posing in different outfits. But then we reached the last few pictures. There she was, completely nude, draped only in a Puerto Rican flag. My stomach tightened. Were you naked under that flag? She hesitated. Yes, but it was artistic. I clenched my jaw. So let me get this straight. The photographer just happened to have a Puerto Rican flag lying around? Her face paled. No, I brought it. Did you change in front of him? She nodded, slowly, looking ashamed. Yeah, but it wasn't like that. I was fuming. I asked to see her MySpace messages with the photographer. The truth unraveled quickly. He had been flirting with her well before the shoot, and she had encouraged it. When I confronted her, she tried to paint him as a manipulator, saying he tricked her into doing the shoot. But I knew better. I knew what I was dealing with now, and yet I still didn't leave. By summer, my friends barely saw me anymore. They had all started noticing Rosie's explosive outbursts. The way she controlled me, the way she flirted with other guys when she thought I wasn't looking. But I was in too deep, too afraid to face the reality that everyone else saw so clearly. There were 2 more confirmed incidents of cheating that summer. 2 more times she admitted to it after I pressed her. My paranoia was at an all-time high. I found myself constantly wondering where she was, who she was talking to, what she was doing when I wasn't around. At the same time, I was working a night shift security job, trying to save up for my own place. I was pushing myself to the limit, and Rosie's dad saw it. He had always been a good guy to me, and I think he knew what was going on. One night, he pulled me aside. Shroom, he said, using the nickname he gave me because of my big afro. Rosie is my problem. Don't let her become yours. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. He had seen the way I was spiraling, and in that moment I realized he was giving me permission to walk away. By the end of the summer, I had finally saved enough for my first apartment. I was on the 7th floor of a high-rise, finally independent. My old neighbors, who had seen me ride my bike to work every day, pitched in with old furniture and kitchenware to help me settle in. Rosie seemed happy for me, but then she started asking when she could have a key. I kept dodging the question, knowing full well that giving her access to my home would be a disaster. I imagined coming home one night and catching her in bed with another guy. I imagined the rage, the betrayal. I imagined both of them going out the 7th floor window while I stood there laughing like a maniac. I knew I had to end it, but I didn't have the stones yet. One night, while hanging out with Rosie and her dad, I left early to get some rest. I was home for only 10 minutes when her dad called me. Is Rosie with you? He asked. No, I said, confused. She told you she was staying with me? Yeah, but I have a feeling she's lying. He told me about a car he had seen parked in a driveway off a street near where he worked, a car that looked exactly like Rosie's. He would know since it was technically his car. I'll check in the morning, he said. If it's her car, I'll let you know. I stayed up all night watching DVDs to keep my mind off it, but at 5:30 a.m. my phone buzzed. It's Rosie's car, Shroom. I wasn't even angry this time. I was relieved. This was my chance to finally rip off the bandage and let my wounds breathe. The day after Rosie's dad confirmed she had lied about staying with me, I decided I had to end things once and for all. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just done. I invited her over that afternoon, keeping my voice calm and casual on the phone. When she arrived, I let her in, offering her a snack like everything was fine. I sat back and watched her, pretending I didn't know the truth. She smiled, chatted about her day, acted like nothing was wrong. After a few minutes, I leaned back and crossed my arms. How was your night? I asked. Good, she said without hesitation. Just went to bed early? I nodded. Oh yeah? Where'd you sleep? She blinked, suddenly on edge. At home. I let the silence stretch out before I finally spoke. Funny, because your dad called me last night asking if you were with me. And I told him no. And then he found your car parked in some random driveway. Rosie's face drained of color. Wait, what? You lied to both of us, Rosie. So tell me, where were you really? She stammered, reaching for any excuse, but she could see it in my face. I knew. I had finally woken up. She tried to cry, to spin it into another sob story about how she had issues, how she needed help, how she didn't want to hurt me. But for the first time since we started dating, I wasn't falling for it. You need Jesus and professional help, I told her bluntly. But you won't get either from me. We're done. She blinked in disbelief, then anger flashed in her eyes. You can't just throw me away? After everything we've been through? You're just gonna give up. I stood up and opened the door. I didn't give up, Rosie. You did. Every single time you cheated. Now get out. She stormed out, cursing and screaming at me on her way down the hallway. I didn't follow. I didn't argue. I just closed the door, locked it, and sat on my couch in silence. It was over. But Rosie wasn't done with me yet. A few hours later, my phone rang. It was Rosie's dad. Shroom, he said, his voice heavy. Rosie told me you hit her. I nearly dropped my phone. What? That's a damn lie. I didn't touch her. I know, he sighed. But you see what she's trying to do, right? She's playing with fire now. She's willing to say anything to hurt you. My blood ran cold. He was right. This was next level crazy. She had lost control over me, so now she was trying to destroy me. A false accusation like that could ruin my life. I just wanted to warn you, he continued. Keep your distance. Don't talk to her. Don't see her. Don't give her any reason to come back. I thanked him and hung up. It took me a long time to fully heal from what she put me through. The lies, the betrayal, the emotional manipulation. It left scars, but I learned. I grew. And most importantly, I never let anyone treat me like that again. Looking back, I don't even blame Rosie anymore. She was broken long before I met her. But it wasn't my job to fix her. It was my job to protect myself. And that's exactly what I did. It was the end of us as a couple, but she made several attempts to get me back in her orbit. I'll share those events in an update. They're gonna be pretty wild too. True, I hope you found this story worth sharing. If it helps just one guy out there wake up and walk away from a toxic relationship, then it was worth telling.